this is not one of the reflections videos in the series. Instead, this is laying some groundwork for what's ahead of us. Now, Star Trek Adventures is one of a few role-playing games that includes the notion of ranks or organizational roles or both within the concept of the character that you are portraying. And this can be an area of friction for some. Right? It's understandable how people can bring whatever their relationship is to rank and their position in it, in their corporation, or at their place of work, or in an actual military organization, and think, why would I want to have that in my fantasy, in my hobby, in my relaxation time? I don't. We get it. But a lot of that tends to be a preconceived notion in my experience. People are bringing in or projecting the notion onto it that it's about control, and that one person in the group is going to be in charge, and they're going to be able to say yes or no to your decisions and all of this stuff. And it 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 just doesn't actually have to be that way. There are a lot of different ways to approach a lot of different things in role-playing games, and well, this is one of them. It's kind of simplistic to wind up saying, okay, the character I have created is the lieutenant, and that's the highest rank in the group, so I'm in charge, so the rest of you have to do what I say. Why would anybody want to play in that game? So I think it should be kind of obvious that it doesn't play that way. It just turns out that it's not that obvious. So that's one of the reasons for this video. Maybe, however, I will do a video about dealing with any kind of organizational structure, but I don't really have the time. So I'm going to focus on Star Trek Adventures, which I'm actually playing. So, in it, the game recommends that someone play the captain, whatever that, whatever their rank actually turns out to be. They're going to be the commanding officer. If it's on a ship, they're going to end up being called captain. And everyone else is going to be below that in rank. Now, does this mean we have a chain of command distributed among the players? No, but it does mean we have a chain of command distributed among the characters. And these characters are highly trained in a wide number of fields. They're highly trained professionals who have been trained to be part of an organization, and that they have graduated from their academy, gone through training, entered into service, and have been promoted one or more times to whatever their rank is now, right? Lieutenant, junior grade, lieutenant, lieutenant commander, right? Commander. If they're holding one of these ranks, they are a willing participant in a very real sense in this service. They're not pressed into service. They're not drafted. It's not a requirement. They can leave anytime they like. So, logically, they are a willing member of it. Now, do we see no problems with rank in the original series, which is the series that's relevant to our Star Trek Adventures campaign, First Response? Of course, we see all kinds of interesting notions around rank. The doctor threatening to use medical authority to remove the captain from power. The doctor browbeating the executive officer, claiming that he's maneuvering the captain out of position in order to take over the ship and run it according to his cold logic, and so on and so forth. We see a hierarchy on the bridge. When Kirk's landing party leaves, someone needs to have the con. Is it going to be Montgomery Scott, Lieutenant Commander Montgomery Scott? Is it going to be Lieutenant Sulu? Is it going to be, right, Chekhov? Is it going to be Uhura? Is it going to be Spock? These are interesting things to consider. What does this mean? Well, as I said, this is fuel for role play. To go on a small tangent, there's a Western game called Aces and Eights, which is not a gunfighter's game per se, although it has excellent gunfighter components. It's more of a Western and frontier, an American West that never was game. And it is built around the premise of trying to give you a way to represent any aspect of Western life that you might want to try. Uh, and one of those things is gambling at cards or cheating at cards while gambling. And the solution was pretty fantastic, and it highlights what I'm trying to demonstrate. The players will actually be given, let's say they're playing poker. Let's say they're playing, 5-card draw, and they have a hand to play against each other, and they can play as long as they like. It's like a mini game inside the game, and they'll role play while gambling. But one character's skill with poker is different from the player's skill with poker, and we're not matching the player's skills at poker. We're matching the character's skills at poker. And let's imagine that they're both cheating, and they're both aware that other people might be cheating, and they're both trying to see if someone else is cheating. Right? So they'll have an opportunity to spot if their opponent is cheating, and they'll have an opportunity to themselves successfully cheat. Right? So by successfully cheat, they do it without the normal person noticing, and it's an action that would improve their opportunity for success. Right? It's not just having a bunch of extra cards or having a card stuffed up your sleeve. It's having the right card stuffed up your sleeve. So in the game, this is represented by you actually have extra cards in your hand. Now, we all role play that we don't see them. You've got the right number of cards in your hand. But when it comes time to see who wins, you have this large number of cards to draw from to improve your opportunity to win. So it's kind of fun. Got a little gamey kind of a feel to it, and it's entertaining to see your opponent as a player looking at your fellow player across the table sitting there with like 10 cards in their head, and arranging things so that they can win. And you're doing the same thing. Now, you might spot them and you might not, and then you can call them out for cheating or not. It's your choice. It's pretty interesting. What I like about it is that the characters are trying to cheat each other. The players are playing the same game, and they're playing fairly by the same rules. Nobody is in a disadvantaged position because of the rules or because of some kind of say-so. Right? So how does this relate to rank and roll? Roll on the starship is the thing that you are responsible for, and how it's described in the text is mainly in giving you things to role play about, things to think about your skills applying to, so that in time of need, your character can, through you, can very confidently spring into action because you've thought about some of the things that they would do in that duty position. It also generally gives you some kind of benefit for fulfilling that role, such as, what the engineer can do, or the security chief being able to freely bring about a security response without using an opportunity cost and that sort of thing. So the roles don't tend to generate much friction. It's the roles in combination with the rank. So who is in charge? Well, in the fiction of play, the captain's in charge, and then the executive officer, and we can work our way down through all the different chiefs until we get down to our lowly ensigns, and there is a chain of command. And the way that the command personnel are structured is to be able to issue orders and have that have a beneficial effect on the conducting of the subordinates' individual roles, right? You will be able to do your job better when you're working in harmony with the command structure. They can provide you with all kinds of different perks. How do we get there? Do we sit there and force the player who's, from their perspective, stuck with the captain to do something? Or do we try and resist the forceful personality of the player that seized the captain's chair during character creation, right? There's all kinds of situations where we might have an overly passive or an overly active person playing the captain, and that can be frustrating, right? So we have these two situations. What do we do if we're uncomfortable implementing the rank structure, or what do we do if a person is making us uncomfortable because of the rank structure? Here's what I like to suggest. In the group, there'll be some balance of ways that people instinctively express their decisions about their characters' actions and thoughts and feelings. You'll have people in a group who basically say, I do this. And you'll have some people in a group who will say some variation on, I would like to do this, or can I do this? They're kind of throwing it out there for some kind of approval, or they're checking to see if it's actually possible. Like they're understanding the rules. I think I can do this. Can I? Like, am I right? And then people go, yeah, you can do that. All right, that's what I do. Right. So they're not actually indecisive. They're uncertain about the rules, but it can look like the same thing. And then we have the very passive person, or we have someone who can seem like they're passive by defaulting very heavily to the third person, right? And they seem themselves to be quite removed from the character. So we have these range of different responses, right? I go through the door. I'd like to go through the door, or can I go through the door? Or my character goes through the door, or Jim goes through the door, right? And some range in there. So we can capitalize on the natural inclination for speech, the natural way people speak, in order to build our device for the command structure. So imagine if we ask everybody in scenes to say, I'd like to. This has other spin-off benefits, such as completely eradicating premature imagination, which is a good thing from where I'm sitting. And it helps feed into this command structure. So instead of saying, I go through the door, which then the game master, because of reasons, might have to say, well, actually, I need a roll, or, well, actually, no, you can't. And no one likes to be the well, actually guy, right? So if we just get rid of that inclination, if we teach ourselves not to answer as, I do this, but I'd like to do this, right? Even if it's in the third person, right? Jim would like to, right, go through the door. Then we have this intention out there. Right? It's been stated. This is what I intend to do. Now we're ready to receive knowledge that it's a task and I'm actually going to have to roll to get through the door. Or we have the opportunity for the commanding officer to instigate role play, like, wait, right? Because they know something about the other side of the door that you don't. Or not yet, because there's a plan that they haven't communicated, but it's time for it to be communicated so there can be some interaction about it, or whatever, right? Now, because you'd like to do something, someone else would like you to do it, or someone else would like you to reconsider. And that is interaction between the players, and this is a good thing. Now you're saying, wait, doesn't this mean that now they're arguing, and of course the guy who's playing the higher rank is going to win? Well, here's where, again, we need to operate on the same playing field. I, as a player, can't really tell you as a player what to do unless I can convince you that what you would like to do is less of what you'd like to do than this other thing. that I have seen that maybe you haven't seen, right? So here we go. What if everybody says, I'd like to? And then we imagine that the superior officer, if there's one present, because of their training, because of their understanding, because of their long term of service in crews like this and this actual crew, right? They understand that that's what you'd like to do. They recognize that you like to do the things that you're good at doing. And they recognize that it's time for that thing to be done. And so that player role plays giving the order of the thing that you'd like to do and enables them to use the things that they made their character to do, which is mechanically supporting your character in their tasks for their role, which makes your character better at their role and creates many opportunities for interaction and role play without anybody being told what to do. So, what if there is an actual argument? What if the executive officer is recommending immediate beam up, and the captain wants to stay a little bit longer because their gambit is about to pay off, right? We role play it. Maybe it will have to come to dice, where the normal mechanics of the game determine, right, which one of those characters is more persuasive, which one has better logical footing or better footing according to established Starfleet procedures or whatever it turns out to be, however the role ends up being interpreted, right? The players state their intentions. This is what I would like to happen. And they're interacting with the game world, and you interact with the game world through the mechanics. Now, I'm not saying have your character stride through, the hallways and corridors of their starship using, presence plus command on everybody to get them to comply, right? What I did say was that if the players can't reach an agreement through role play, there is a solution available. So let's recap. It's entirely possible to have everyone on an equal footing as players while their characters are on unequal footing as characters. It's entirely possible to role play through a procedure, through improv and interaction, where it sounds like in the fiction the captain ordered the ensign to go through the door first and to shut off this energy conduit. That's what it sounds like in the fiction. But what actually happened was the guy playing the ensign was like, wow, of all these characters, I'm the best suited for that. And my character is really interested in, getting promotion. And if I do this heroic thing, everyone's going to look at me differently. They're not going to look at me as the young guy anymore. They're going to see me as the heroic monster I really am. So, I want to be the guy who goes through the door. Don't send, the big, tough, experienced security guy. Send me. Let me prove what I can do, right? Lots of cool, right? So he says, I want to go through that door, right? Not I go through the door, right? I want to go through the door. And the guy playing the captain goes, yeah, that's awesome, right? Shut off that conduit, and applies their command talents and blah, blah, blah. And nobody got told what to do. Nobody had to sit there playing, the captain, Captain Dunsel, that nobody respects or has interest in. No personal friction needs to exist around the table. So if you're in a group that is shying away from having someone take on a captain's role, if everyone's playing the same rank so that we can all be equal, right? If we're all playing some kind of lower decks campaign so we can avoid this whole problem of ranks, right? It doesn't have to be that way, right? It can be really pretty cool. And if you wind up with an arrangement of characters like a Kirk and a Spock and a Bones, all of whom have their clearly defined strong suits, plus really interesting personalities, plus this interesting friendship, shall we say, then the problem of rank simply becomes an opportunity for rank to become interesting when you want it to be interesting. So I hope this has been helpful. And if you've got questions about procedures for it, or the attitude for it, or if you've tried something else that was successful, or if you tried this and found it to be a problem, talk to me in the comments. All right. Take care.